North of here at the United Nations, President Trump threatened to, in his words, totally destroy North Korea if it continues to threaten America and its allies. He also singled out Iran, saying its biggest exports are violence, bloodshed, and chaos. Chief White House correspondent John Roberts starts us off this hour from the UN. Good evening, John.
Brett, good evening to you. President Trump came to Washington to be a disruptor, to shake things up. Today, here at the UN, he was true to form. His ambassador to the United Nations said President Trump would slap the right people in his speech. Boy, did he ever.
Rocket Man is on a suicide mission for himself.
On North Korea, the president left no room for interpretation or ambiguity, demanding that Kim Jong-un give up his nuclear program or else.
The United States has great strength and patience. But if it is forced to defend itself or its allies, we will have no choice but to totally destroy North Korea.
The North Korean delegation, who had a front row seat, walked out before the speech, leaving only a lone note taker. And there was no reaction from the Iranian delegation as President Trump ripped Tehran for seeking to destabilize an entire region.
The Iranian government masks a corrupt dictatorship behind the false guise of a democracy. It has turned a wealthy country with a rich history and culture into an economically depleted rogue state whose chief exports are violence, bloodshed, and chaos.
The president again criticized the Obama administration for the Iran nuclear deal, insisting it is an embarrassment to the United States.
We cannot let a murderous regime continue these destabilizing activities while building dangerous missiles, and we cannot abide by an agreement if it provides cover for the eventual construction of a nuclear program.
Not surprisingly, Iran didn't like that one bit. Foreign Minister Javad Zarif tweeting, quote, Trump's ignorant hate speech belongs in medieval times, not the 21st century, unworthy of a reply. The president's address brought a sharp reaction from Democratic Senator Dianne Feinstein, who said in a statement, quote, Trump's bombastic threat to destroy North Korea and his refusal to present any positive pathways forward on the many global challenges we face are severe disappointments. Israel's prime minister, on the other hand, loved it.
I've listened to countless speeches in this hall, but I can say this: none were bolder, none were more courageous and forthright than the one delivered by President Trump today. President Trump rightly called the nuclear deal with Iran, he called it an embarrassment. Well, I couldn't agree with him more.
There was sharp reaction from Venezuela's Maduro regime, which didn't like being called out for imposing a brutal dictatorship.
The problem in Venezuela is not that socialism has been poorly implemented, but that socialism has been faithfully implemented.
This return to the Cold War. For a moment, we didn't know if we were listening to President Reagan in 1982 or to President Trump in 2017.
President Trump also laid out his vision for the world, urging every nation to follow his America First policy.
As President of the United States, I will always put America first. Just like you, as the leaders of your countries, will always and should always put your countries first.
President Trump says it's not his intent to nation build or to impose democracy through military regimes, but through military action, but rather to create global stability by partnering with nations that put the well-being of their citizens first. And a note to the Venezuelan foreign minister, trying to insult the president by likening him to Ronald Reagan, not exactly an insult. Brett?
Not in the GOP. John Roberts live outside the UN. John, thanks.